Quantum computers, once sufficiently powerful, could break the cryptographic foundations of Bitcoin by solving the discrete logarithm problem that underlies its digital signatures. On August 26, 2026, a team demonstrated a workaround, the first quantum-safe Bitcoin transaction, mined on the mainnet without requiring any protocol change. Bitcoin relies on elliptic curve digital signatures, specifically ECDSA with the SEC256K1 curve, to authorize transactions. A sufficiently powerful quantum computer running Shor's algorithm could solve the discrete logarithm problem and derive private keys from public ones, compromising security. Most Bitcoin addresses are hashes of public keys, so they remain safe until the public key is revealed. However, once a transaction is broadcast, the public key is exposed, creating a window for an attacker to steal funds before confirmation. This is the in-flight risk. Moreover, addresses that have already exposed their public keys, holding millions of BTC, are vulnerable once quantum computers mature. The timeline for Q-Day is uncertain, but estimates point to the 2030s, making it a pressing concern for the future of Bitcoin. Shor's algorithm efficiently solves the discrete logarithm problem, which underpins ECDSA. In plain terms, it can find the private key from a public key in polynomial time, whereas classical computers require exponential time. This is the core threat. The formula shows the discrete logarithm problem. Given g and h, find x such that g to the power of x equals h mod p. For Bitcoin, g is the generator point, h is the public key, and x is the private key. Shor's algorithm can solve this on a quantum computer, making the private key recoverable. This means that any transaction that reveals a public key could be vulnerable to a quantum attack, potentially allowing an attacker to spend the funds before the legitimate owner can. Quantum-safe Bitcoin, or QSB, is a method proposed by Avihu Levy of StarkWare, published in April 2026. It leverages hash functions, specifically Ripemed 160 preimage resistance, instead of elliptic curve assumptions. The core idea is to create a spending condition that is secure against quantum attacks, without changing Bitcoin's consensus rules. It uses a technique called signature grinding and a hash-to-signature puzzle. The sender performs heavy off-chain computation, using GPUs, to find a valid transaction whose hash forms a valid ECDSA signature under DR encoding. The Bitcoin script validates it, but security actually relies on the difficulty of finding hash preimages, not on private key secrecy. This is combined with a Lamport-like one-time hash signature structure, which provides quantum resistance by relying on the hardness of inverting hash functions. The security of QSB relies on the preimage resistance of hash functions. In simple terms, given a hash output y, it's computationally infeasible to find an input x such that x equals y. For quantum computers, Grover's algorithm provides only a quadratic speedup, so the effective security is halved. The formula shows the preimage problem: find x such that x equals y. For Ripemed 160, this gives about 80 bits of security against Grover's algorithm, which is considered strong. This is why hash-based signatures are quantum resistant. Unlike elliptic curve cryptography, they do not rely on the discrete logarithm problem, which Shor's algorithm can break. Instead, they rely on the difficulty of finding preimages, which remains hard even for quantum computers. On August 26, 2026, StarkWare announced that the first QSB transaction was mined and confirmed on Bitcoin mainnet. The transaction ID is 305A24F59129F952321C96DAP5BAB284FC0D08015625ABAB07, included in block approximately 964,199. It moved a small amount of Bitcoin, about 0.0001 to 0.00044 BTC, worth roughly $35 at the time. The transaction was submitted via Mara's Slipstream service, a private mempool that allows direct submission to miners, because QSB uses non-standard script formats that regular nodes won't relay. This is a crucial detail: it's not a standard transaction, so it needs special handling. The fact that it was mined on mainnet demonstrates that quantum-safe transactions are possible without a fork, but the reliance on a private mempool highlights the current limitations. Here are the key details of the first QSB transaction. The transaction ID is as reported, the block height is approximately 964,199, and the amount moved is between 0.0001 and 0.00044 BTC. The value at the time was around $35. The submission method was via Mara Slipstream, and the status is confirmed. These details are from StarkWare's announcement and Blockchain Explorers. The small amount moved indicates that this was a proof of concept rather than a large-scale transfer. The use of Slipstream is notable because it bypasses the standard relay network, which would reject the non-standard script. This transaction serves as a demonstration that quantum-safe spending is technically feasible, but it also underscores the need for broader infrastructure support. The key innovation is signature grinding. The sender searches for a transaction whose hash, when interpreted as an ECDSA signature, is valid under DR encoding. This requires massive off-chain computation, typically hours on a GPU. The Bitcoin script validates the signature, but the actual security comes from the hash preimage difficulty. This is combined with a Lamport-like one-time hash signature, which uses hash chains to create a quantum-resistant signature. The result is a spending condition that is secure against Shor's algorithm, because hash functions are not vulnerable to it. The entire script fits within Bitcoin's legacy script limits, 201 non-push opcodes and a maximum of 10,000 bytes. This ensures that the transaction can be validated by the existing Bitcoin network, even though it is non-standard. The cost of a QSB transaction is significantly higher than a standard one. The off-chain computation requires hours of GPU time, costing between $75 and $200 per transaction, plus the on-chain fees. This is a rough estimate from the source. The formula shows the total cost, off-chain computation cost plus on-chain fees. This makes QSB impractical for everyday use, but viable for emergency migration of large funds. The high cost is a trade-off for quantum security without a protocol change. For example, if a whale needs to move a large amount of Bitcoin to a quantum-safe address, paying a few $100s in computation and fees is a small price compared to the risk of losing everything. However, for regular users, the cost is prohibitive, making QSB a niche solution for high-value accounts. QSB is not a complete solution. It only protects specific UTXOs that are moved into hash-based outputs. It does not protect addresses with already exposed public keys, because an attacker could act before the transaction is broadcast. It also doesn't protect taproot outputs or lightning channels. The availability is limited, it requires direct submission to a willing miner, and mainstream wallets and exchanges don't support it. The designer himself calls it a stopgap or lifeboat, not a permanent fix. The long-term solution is a soft fork to introduce true post-quantum signatures, such as BIP 360. This means that while QSB is a valuable proof of concept, it is not a scalable or comprehensive defense against quantum threats. It is a temporary measure to buy time until a more robust solution is implemented. Let's compare QSB with a potential soft fork solution. QSB works today without consensus changes, but it's costly and limited. A soft fork, like BIP 360, would introduce native post-quantum signatures, but requires broad community consensus and time. QSB is a stopgap, a soft fork is the long-term fix. The trade-off is between immediate availability and systemic change. QSB can be deployed right now to protect specific funds, but it cannot be used for all transactions due to its cost and complexity. A soft fork, on the other hand, would provide a seamless transition for all users, but it requires coordination and agreement among miners, developers, and the community. The choice is not either/or. QSB can serve as an interim solution while the community works towards a soft fork. To put this in context, here's the current Bitcoin market snapshot as of August 27, 2026. The price is approximately $79,472, with a market cap of $1.60 trillion. The 24-hour volume is $30.45 billion. Over the past week, Bitcoin is up 10.5%, and over the past month, up 25.3%. Active addresses are around 491,000, and daily transactions are about 724,000. These numbers show a healthy, active network, making the quantum threat even more relevant. The high market cap and transaction volume indicate that a significant amount of value is at risk if quantum computers become a reality. This underscores the urgency of developing and implementing quantum-safe solutions, even as the network continues to grow and thrive. What does this mean for Bitcoin holders? First, it proves that a quantum-safe migration is technically possible without a protocol change. Second, it's expensive and only for emergency use. Third, it highlights the urgency of developing a proper post-quantum standard. For now, most holders don't need to act immediately, but they should be aware of the risks. The QSB transaction is a proof of concept, not a mass migration tool. It's a signal to the community that quantum threats are real and need addressing. For individual holders, the immediate risk is low because most addresses have not exposed their public keys, and quantum computers are not yet mature. However, the long-term risk is significant, and the community must work together to implement a durable solution. The first quantum-safe Bitcoin transaction is a milestone, but it's a lifeboat, not a destination. It shows that Bitcoin can adapt, but the real solution lies in protocol-level upgrades. As quantum computers advance, the pressure will grow. For now, the message is clear: Bitcoin security is not static, and the community must prepare. The road ahead requires collaboration among researchers, developers, and miners to ensure that Bitcoin remains secure in the quantum era. This transaction is a step in the right direction, but it is only the beginning of a longer journey. Markets reward discipline, not certainty. If this analysis helped, like the video and subscribe to DeepQuant. Tell us in the comments which market idea we should test next. Evidence beats noise. Control risk before chasing returns.